the video is a little bit better, or the audio is a little bit better. Anyway, welcome. 7:30 p.m. on a Friday, Central Standard or Daylight. I don't know. There's a discussion about that. Anyway, let me get the comments up. So if the sound's bad, let me know in the comments like you did last time. Hello, Steak. Let's see here. So this time I'm joined by a guest. He has been a friend of mine for, I don't know, 15 plus years. We're now separated by one state line and approximately 700 miles. Let's see. He is a pizza connoisseur, a master of the skins, a professional drummer. Without further ado or introduction, I will bring to the stage my buddy, Mr. Barry Straws. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I heard your cough. What's up, buddy?
Oh god, I've been under this woman for like 48 hours. Oh, I'm stuck at the Peppermint Hippo. I hope they didn't charge me for the second buffet.
Well, they charge you by the tonnage, not how long you're there. So I think you're good. Anyway, so what's new?
Other than sunlight,
Yeah, buddy. So we talked earlier, yesterday, day before. We talked for like 4 hours, 5 hours total. I don't know how long we actually talked. We will try to stay on topic here. We'll see how well we can do that. But um, I think one of the things we wanted to talk about was the Minnesota shooting and what's going on with that. Did you find out anything new? So I guess backstory, if you don't know, they've caught the guy. Last I had checked, a guy who showed up at 3 a.m. at a Minnesota state representative's house, killed her and her husband, was impersonating a police officer, had a cop car. Story gets a little murky from there. He shoots another representative and their spouse who's clinging to life. And it just gets murkier from there. So do you have anything to add to that as far as like backstory?
I do. I believe I found that they refused to release this man's manifesto. They didn't even want to mention he had it because the narrative changed so greatly between Saturday and today that again they haven't released the manifesto. So it's probably because it proclaims that he, as a Democrat, wanted to kill Democrats that were turncoats. In my opinion,
Right. Yeah. Yeah, let's put the disclaimer out there that these are separate opinions held by at least one person in the world, whether it's me or Barry. We're just kind of riffing, obviously, but like, didn't that vote happen like earlier in the day?
yes, on a Saturday, I believe.
And he was so pissed off that he just decided, here we go. I'm going to write a manifesto. I am already have a cop car or, I guess what would have been a cop car at one time that was sold at auction or something. So he already had that, I would assume.
Yeah, he probably wrote the manifesto much, much earlier. I'd say even months prior. He already had these feelings. He's been pissed off through all of 2024.
I would agree that whether he decided that day based on that vote to do it or not, that he probably didn't like he's probably been thinking about this for a minute. It kind of reminds me of like the Butler would be assassin, where there's no manifesto, there's no social media, like he just like didn't exist digitally, yet he was like extremely radicalized to try to shoot a former and then would be president. So that's I don't think you just wake up one day and decide to just start assassinating politicians, do you? I mean, I've never woken up like that. I've woken up pretty pissed off before, but never like that.
Well, I have multiple personalities. Hold on, let me ask Bill. Bill, you ever get up and want to shoot public officials? I don't know. He's asking his other personality, but he'll get back to me. But yeah, sometimes you can pick up a stupid ass Halloween mask anytime. But he got away from the cops on a
That
Saturday
makes it
night.
weirder. So like he had that weird mask on, which I should have prepared a little bit more and like had pictures of the mask, but like the mask was like odd, like Mike Myers style mask
I
where it
thought
like
of
covered
William
his whole head.
Shatner when I thought, yeah, it's like a William Shatner mask. You know that's the Halloween mask, right? They
Oh,
went to a Halloween
forgot
store back in
about
the
that. Yeah,
70s.
I
Yeah,
forgot.
they got a Bill Shatner mask and put it in the microwave and messed it all up and colored it and
Put the
removed the
hair
color,
on.
bleached it. You wouldn't
But
know it's Bill Shatner.
it looks like Shatner now. That's what's funny.
After Space.
Well, it's like we got this Shatner mask from when he was like 35, but it looks like when he's 90 and now he's 90.
A little bloated,
Little
little bit.
little bloated, very hypocritical. Um, I like Bill though. I felt bad when his wife passed. Um,
Oh, and he was
so
standing next to the pool with a drink in his hand.
you got to get over it. You know, probably need to take the edge off, buddy. Too soon. Anyway, so back to the story though, like so they caught the guy. The part that is really weird, there's so many parts of the story that are weird. One is like the cops just act like they don't want to talk about it. There may or may not be a manifesto, which there probably is. But the weirdest thing to me is he has a wife and a home, but also has a roommate at a different home, which he spent time with. And I think there's some sort of like I don't even want to say conspiracy, but I think there's some ulterior like lifestyle happening that no one's talking about for some reason, and I don't quite understand why they're not talking about it. Is it because like Minnesota's super progressive and like we can't hardly? Is this like Nashville shooter vibes of like a trans manifesto or something? Like I don't.
Yes,
You think so? So it's
yes,
politically motivated now.
yes, and we won't know the truth until the trial's over. This could be years before we actually get to see a few pages of this manifesto. That's what they did in Tennessee when it doesn't match their narrative. That's
But
exactly what happened.
do you think he gets like Epstein's? Does he have information that would lead to the conviction of Hillary Clinton?
Well, I'm no conspiracist. However, definitely more than two people conspired to see this through. Because again, I don't know how he got away from those cops on Saturday night only to go house to house. He had plans to go to multiple houses.
It's weird to me that he got away from the cops. Like, did he take the mask off? That's where I was going with the mask. Like, did he take the mask off to
And you
beat
said
the
he was driving
cops?
he had a cop ride he acquired somehow.
That's what they said because he's impersonating a cop. They found the vehicle, it had lights and everything. So I
And his
it's all just
attire, he had the attire of a police officer? He had a uniform?
allegedly, but we
Hmm.
haven't. I mean, I've seen the only picture I saw of the actual like time of the crime is like a ring camera or something like some like camera from the porch where you can see him wearing the mask and you can see like the top part of his like shirt or something. So I don't know. I don't know. It's weird. Anyway, so that story's fucked. So there's that. So Um, I wasn't sure if you were going to show up or not, so I did this other thing, and I think it would be cool to get your reaction of this on the fly. This is not anything we've talked about, but I'm gonna. Are you familiar? You're familiar with Jordan Peterson, I would assume.
Yes.
Oh yeah, Um, but are you familiar with Sam Harris at all? Does that ring a bell?
Not Harris.
Okay. Sam Harris is, I will just preface this by saying Sam Harris is a highly intelligent individual, very well educated, is a neuroscientist, I believe. Went to UCLA, then Stanford, graduated both. um, is Jewish by heritage, but not in and is a very avowed atheist. Okay, so that's your
Following.
pref. That's the only preface I'm going to put on this, but I'm going to clips and I found this. I listened to the whole thing because unlike many people, I listen to people who I don't necessarily even like. I do like Jordan Peterson. I don't think he's right on everything, obviously, and there's a lot of people that give Jordan Peterson a lot of hate, and some of it's probably I don't know if the hate is I don't think he earned the hate, but you can criticize him. Let's just criticize him. But anyway, I don't really care. Was I found it fascinating. So let's see if I can do this. And play.
What the thing at this contrary moment is that so many people have gotten the message, and this is really most explicit since COVID. They've gotten the message that we don't need institutions. We don't want institutions. And just got to navigate by Substack newsletter and podcast, and that's just not going to work, right? We can't be all contrarian all the time. We need institutional knowledge,
intermediary institutions,
that work. Yeah. So whether we have to build new ones or perform exorcisms on our old ones, that might be a different answer depending on the case. But there's no question we need institutions that are better than most individuals, and that make most individuals live up to norms that they themselves didn't invent, and would under another system of incentives would struggle to emulate.
Okay. So what Sam Harris said there about institutions.
Yeah, he's stupid, dog. Go to lay.
So reason I wanted to preface it by obviously telling you the good and kind of the bad of the man. He's a highly intelligent individual, but also that he's atheist. He mentioned, institutions. What was the quote? Institutions that are better than most individuals. Wouldn't that be religion?
Not necessarily, but they're well funded. That's for sure.
Well, that's a pretty good one, right? Like there's an entire book of religion and religions that talk about a higher power and being a better person and are somewhat incorruptible by individuals. Now, it can happen, but there's still a book there that says if you do these certain things, if you lead your life this way, it will create a better individual of yourself by and large. Like, are we better off with religion or without religion? I think we talked about yesterday, the day before, I think you mentioned it, of you would much rather have a neighbor who was a Christian versus non-Christian, something like to that effect.
Yeah, I was paraphrasing something George Washington once said.
Right.
Yeah, he's pragmatic. He would rather have a Christian neighbor build his own fence than have a smarmy, quiet guy next door doesn't speak English.
Right. Now,
Been
why
down
do you think?
on a war rug 5 times a day. But I
Right.
digress.
Now, if we all had our druthers about us, we would much rather our neighbor be a, say, Christian or practice Judaism versus something a little more explosive like Islam or voodoo or witchcraft or whatever the thing is. But it just was hilarious to me. I had to pause that in that episode with Peterson and Harris and rewind it numerous times to make sure I was hearing what I was hearing, from this guy, because if you listen to the entire episode, the entire discussion is basically about the expert class. It's about the it's basically about gatekeeping those people who are not really allowed to, or who Sam believes, and Jordan apparently to an extent, or possibly he's just being really nice because he has a guest on who he respects and he's friendly with. But it's this overall thing of like, you're not allowed to speak about something because you're not quote unquote an expert, or you didn't go to the right school, or, you know, we need these institutions because X, Y, or Z, which that discussion, the institutions they were talking about are like media institutions. You know, you need someone like CNN who just has the facts and they know what they know and they're going to tell you straight and narrow. To which he did make the point of like, everyone can't be contrarian in this contrarian moment. Well, you have a contrarian moment because we've been lied to for so long about stuff. And I think it's more of, I don't think people are by and large necessarily just being contrarian to be contrarian about everything. I think people are being contrarian because you're starting to find out that it wasn't just COVID that they lied to you about. It wasn't just, you know, the invasion of Iraq that they lied to you about. It wasn't our extended time in Afghanistan that we were lied to about. It was back to Vietnam and the Gulf of Tonkin that we were lied to about, and numerous other things that we were lied to about. So I think once it's the inevitable red pill. Once you're red pilled, you can't be unred pilled. You know, once you see it with a certain eyes, you can't turn those eyes off, kind of thing. I don't know. Have you been keeping up to date on who's on the like gatekeeping around who's allowed to talk and who's not?
Well, Democrats are allowed to talk, and Republicans really aren't. And then they eat each other. The Republicans. That's what gets annoying.
Right.
They hate on each other to where the Democratic Party works more as a brood with a think tank that oversees. The nucleus controls the walls of the cell.
They do get on brand really quick. Like they get whipped into line like overnight, sometimes within the hour. It's pretty amazing. You almost have to respect them in that aspect of that. And you're correct. And that's exactly what's happening now on the right. Is the infighting is getting out of control. And I don't know if it's like a consolidation of power. It is amazing to me though that like the regime, like, you know, Trump and his officials, you're always going to have some rifts that happen and you're going to work through some shit because you're playing at the highest level. But it's like, it's everyone on the sides, everyone in the margins who are like at each other's throats right now. And it's almost like the people who felt like and people who did probably help Trump get elected and helped the right take power here in America, they're like fighting over the scraps of that right now. And it's really sad to watch. Like there's this there's a talking point in a kind of like an old thing that's out there of like Republicans never know how to take a win ever. And it's
They're
rearing
doing
its
it right
ugly
now.
head. Yeah, they're doing it right now. Like they literally have no idea how to take a win.
I don't know about that Mike Johnson, man. They should have had the big beautiful bill through before 4th of July, and now it's probably not going to happen.
Well, so I'm torn on the big beautiful bill.
I know that's true, and I think Elon was pissed off because he didn't understand. You got to give a little to get a little. It's a tug of war when writing a bill, and sometimes you got to give that fat in there. But Trump was happy with it. That's a positive.
Well, I think the fringe is the group that wants less spending, unfortunately. Like the one thing that the left and the right have agreed on for the last, 50, 60 years is expanding the budget. Definitely since, 1980, that budget has expanded. And
we had a balanced budget in 94, or was it 96 with Newt Gingrich?
It was under Clinton for sure.
Yeah, and then
I forget the exact date. I think it was his first term. They laid the groundwork, and it happened 95, 96, somewhere in there.
Yeah, because then the pendulum swung in the Republican favor for Congress after the election of Slick Willie Clinton.
Are you aware that was the first time the Republicans had the majority in like 50 years?
Yeah, they
That's
did not
crazy
like
to me.
him.
Oh, yeah.
They voted for a guy named Newt to run
Newt,
to be
and
the House
he
Speaker.
didn't even save himself with the last name like Smith. It was Newt Gingrich. He just sounds like a villain. Some dude named Newt. But
Hey, that man wears a damn fine toupee.
well, believe he was against the Iraq War, so I think he has that going for him.
Yeah, very few. It seems like they all have amnesia. Hillary Clinton was for it. I mean,
Everyone
like
was for it.
Everybody was for it. Both sides. For Iraq.
We might as well just start talking about Iran at this point in the Middle East. As much, I'll go deep dive on Smith some other time. It's a deep well of retardation.
Yeah, I'll take that with homework. Yeah, I'm going to consider that one homework.
Yeah. I kind of sprung that one on you, but that clip, I had it queued up, and it's just too good. It's just so it's just so you missed, dude. It's right there, and that's why I pointed out that he was Jewish. He is Jewish. He's just not practicing, So he's an ethnic Jewish man from a Jewish family, and it's like, dude, it's right there. It's the institution is right there, So anyway, so I guess Iran retaliated, and now Israel doesn't like that. Naturally, I should, I guess, restate that I'm on Iran or on Israel's side against Iran here. I don't like Iran. I don't like the mullahs. I don't like the Ayatollah. I don't like any part of that. But one of the things I kind of want to focus on is the things you're not allowed to say about this. Of first and foremost, Israel attacked Iran. Whether you like the Iranian regime or not, Israel fired the first shots in this thing. So they're not allowed to play the victim here. And I don't like that there are people trying to play the victim. And when I talk about Israel, I'm talking about the government. Just like when I say Iran, I'm talking about the government. I don't understand this. I don't know if you saw or heard about recently, Tucker had Ted Cruz on his podcast. They got into it over Iran. I thoroughly enjoyed the podcast because to me, it was like two buddies who disagree on something, having a pretty decent little argument, like a legitimate argument and discussion about something. But at one point, Ted Cruz, when Tucker's being critical of Israel, he says something to the effect, and you just blame the Jews, which Tucker never said Jews. He said Israel. He said Netanyahu. He was very adamant that he was talking about the government of Israel, not the country. I think he stated several times he loved the country, been there many times, blah, blah, blah.
But
so when
there's always a but.
Do what?
There's always a but.
Well, the but is I'm talking about the government of Israel. Like it's like saying, it's like criticizing Trump or Biden, or we were talking about the Iraq war and Clinton was for it, and every Republican basically seemed to be for it at the time, including Tucker, but not Ted Cruz. Neither of them had power, but still yet. We're not criticizing, like if I criticize Ted Cruz, I'm not criticizing Texas. I'm criticizing him and the government that, the Senate in which he represents and our federal government.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like if critical of Jasmine Crockett that I hate black people. I mean, it's just an asinine argument to make that because someone is critical of Israel. So here's the thing too, that blows up their argument whenever they want to say that because you're critical of what the Israeli government is doing either in Iran or in Gaza or the West Bank, that that makes you an anti-Semite. But those same people, like the Ben Shapiro's of the world, that will say that you're being anti-Semitic by saying that, and that you're invoking the Jews, those same people will say that oh, Israel is not an apartheid state because there's 20% of it is non-Jewish Arabs, and they're represented in the Knesset and their Supreme Court. So they undermine their own argument at the same time by while telling me that I'm anti-Semitic because I criticize the government of Israel. Does that make sense?
Yes, you can definitely see the fact that everybody serves in the military at one point or another. So I find that their government reflects the attitudes of their people more so than America.
But does it
However,
though?
not everybody serves for more than a year.
Well, I'm glad you brought that part up of the conscription, the forced conscription, I guess. I'm not sure what they call it there, mandatory service. I'm sure they have some grand term for it, but a lot of the pushback that I've gotten and seen is, especially when in regards to Gaza and the Palestinians, is that they don't deserve rights in Gaza because Hamas exists, and they don't. There's like this: you've given up your rights because the government that governs you is an awful and evil one, and they mention rights. Well, based on manual or on forced conscription or mandatory service, that's denying a right of self-autonomy, is it not? Right. So exactly. So you're gonna have to like struggle with these different things. And as far as I know, like you can own a firearm in Israel, but there's like limits on the amount of ammunition you can have for a year. And it's something I need to look into, but look into deeper. But there was a time in my life where I was like seriously considering like, should I go to a different country and just check it out and see what it's all about while I'm young and this and that? And Israel is one I looked into, and I just remember looking at the gun laws being like, yeah, man, I don't know. I don't like that at all. So I say that only to try to bust up the argument of that, you know, every country has its issues. Our country has its issues. We're not 100% free in practicing individual liberty either. We're trying to get there. But to make this, if you're going to make this like moral argument of rights versus non-rights, or a regime that, you know, impedes on your rights, which Iran definitely does, it's not holding as much water as they think it holds. Why don't you just say, look, those motherfuckers over there want to kill us. They wanted to kill us for a long time. This is the best time we've ever had to strike at them, and we're going to do it, and no one can stop us. And we feel like it's in our safety and our interest to do that. And if you guys want to help, great. If not, we're going to be over here messing these dudes up. Why can't that be why do you have to create this narrative of, well, they're 2 weeks away from a nuclear weapon, 20 years later, 30 years later, they're still 2 weeks away. Like, I just feel like I'm being fucking lied to, and I don't like it. And I don't really care what Israel does. If they want to blow up Iran, blow them up, do whatever you want. Just pay for the weapons that you get from us. And I don't want any of our soldiers involved in this. If we need to move a carrier over, or we need to run like some sort of naval interference or something, you know, a blockade against Iran, I guess that's fine. Or keep the canals open, or keep the Red Sea open, or whatever we have to do, you know, maybe protect our interests in Qatar or something like that. That's fine. But having our soldiers involved in this, I don't like it at all. I don't want our soldiers involved, because the next step is boots on the ground, and I don't want boots on the ground in Iran. We couldn't even do Iraq right, and Iran is 10 times as hard as Iraq. So I why are we involved?
Because
Why?
we have the key to the mountain. Some Lord of the Rings shit. We gotta
But
open.
I mean,
We just
seriously,
need to
why?
lend our key. Lend the key. We have the B-22s that could drop a payload big enough to blow up 300 feet of concrete into the earth, not to mention the mountain sitting on top of it. And they're like, all you need to do is open this little hole in this tiny little mountain. Nobody's going to notice. Not even a whisper from us. Just open it up and we'll finish the job. That's all they're asking. And then Donald Trump plays it like the art of the deal, like he always does. And he just sits back and, maybe I will, maybe I won't. You hear that, Iran? Maybe I won't. I told you no. Can't have that. Can't have it, Iran. What a waste of life. I'm paraphrasing, but all that good stuff.
Sure.
His tweets have been amazing this week.
He really does play like a good long game of you just don't know, and he's so kind of all over the place.
Fucking wild card. It takes one to know one. Wild card.
It's 100% right. Like you just don't know with him, and when you don't know, that is the scariest thing on planet Earth. It's like having a pit bull sitting in the corner that's all jacked up and it has a spike collar on. Like it's not trying to bite you, but it is in the corner.
And it runs the room.
And it is looking at you. It's not snarling, but it's not like wagging its tail either. So your eyes are locked on it and you're thinking, if this fucking dog moves 1 inch towards me, and you start looking around for something like, a bat or something to hit it with, or where's the door? Is the door locked or is the door open? Can I get out clean? That's what Donald Trump seems to do most of the time, and it's very, very effective.
And he's been consistent for decades beyond his first administration. Even as a private citizen, he was like, no, they should not ever have a nuclear bomb. I don't know, Oprah asked him or something. He was so popular before 2015. He's like, I know all these people. I've been to their houses. I went to their children's weddings. They didn't mind taking my checks. And now I'm a piece of shit. Well, fuck you too, Oprah. I digress.
Well, he's a Nazi now somehow.
He's terrible at it.
He's really horrible Hitler, if you think about it. And I mean, it's so crazy. It's funny too, because like that's the same playbook I feel like is being used to try to get me to back Israel 100% in their war against Iran and like dedicate, American firepower and bodies and treasure to their endeavor. It's like, if I don't do it, then I'm somehow Hitler. It's like, well, no, like there's middle ground there. It is funny too. I like to hear the talking points of like, why is it that no one ever mentions, I don't know, the half dozen wars between World War II and now when it comes to like regime change or attacking a country? It's always World War II, and it's always that regime is, Nazis, or they're the worst thing since Hitler or whatever. Like they use the same thing with Vladimir Putin. They're using the same thing with the Ayatollahs and the mullahs. It's like, well, what? Are they not like, maybe they're the Taliban and you go in and you win for a couple of years and then they come right back and now they have it all over again. Like, why is that the talk? Is that just because like that was the last time we were the clear-cut good guy and we won unconditionally? Is that why that gets used? I mean, if you're gonna say like Vladimir Putin is Hitler and he must be stopped at all costs, well, doesn't that mean we have to get involved? Because we got involved with Hitler eventually, right? Even though, like, I know there, and then the other side's like, well, we went to war with Germany even though they never attacked us. Yeah, but after Japan did, they declared war on us. So it's like, well, I guess we'll meet you over there. Conveniently, that side leaves that part out too. But what are your thoughts on the whole Iran thing? Do you think we should be pursuing a regime change? Do you think we should get involved? Do you think we should just be minimally involved and just support Israel? What's your thoughts on it?
You can only listen to a guy bluff so many times. Guy's been bluffing since 1979, the Ayatollah Khomeini. And he said, even in the most recent of days, because he's pissed off, he said some ugly shit. And at what point do you not believe somebody? They're terroristic threats. They are apparently well founded. Like the interview with Bibi last week. I'm not going to call him that. His name is Benjamin Netanyahu. I don't know where this Bibi business came from, but his interviews are really amazing if he's telling the truth and not just manipulating the Western world when he says, no, those two attempts on Donald Trump's life over the last 2 years were both done by Iran. So, like Tucker Carlson was saying, it's like if you know that there's a plan to outright assassinate Donald Trump, we should probably, in good conscience, do something about that, not allow that to happen, because that's devastating to our people, to our way of life. You can't kill the president. I didn't want Obama to be touched, not a hair on his head. I don't want Donald Trump to be touched, not a hair on his head. Because then they're martyrs.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. No matter the president, to me, if the president is harmed, especially by a foreign country, it's on. And I mean, it's on. Like everything's on that's kind of my thought anyway with war. Like the reason I don't like these most recent wars, Afghanistan, Iraq, the predicate is what the predicate is. I wasn't for the Iraq war, but the second we went in, it's like, okay, I'm in. My country's at war. Obviously, it was for the Afghanistan war, but I don't understand this limited war nonsense. I don't understand this. We're going to fight this war smart, and we're going to do these things, and we're going to be surgical. Like, no, I want you carpet bombing Hanoi. I want you blowing up Cambodia. And I understand I'm mixing wars and references here, but I want you bombing Pakistan. If Pakistan's harboring Al-Qaeda and they're not helping, if they're hindering our efforts in Afghanistan, then we're lighting up whatever the hell their damn capital is. I don't even know. You're getting lit up. Everybody's getting lit the fuck up. Everybody. You know, when George W. Bush said you're either with us or against us, I was like, yeah, that's right. And that includes like nuclear weapons as far as I was concerned. Like if it had to come to that, okay, we'll show you the sun. I'm fine with it. Everybody gets some. So I don't like this whole like limited nonsense. I think you should fight wars the way Genghis Khan fought wars. Like we're coming. If you surrender, you're fine. If not, everybody dies. Like that's just how it works. I don't. It gets more people killed in the long run by trying to do this limited incursion over in 30 days nonsense. But I'm getting sidetracked. That is the one point at which you got when Cruz. That was part of that Ted Cruz interview where he got Tucker to say, "Yeah, go in." Overthrow the government. We're at war with Iran. If there is a credible threat against Donald Trump by Iran, blow them up. A guy that has been pretty anti-war here of late, at least. But the problem with that is there's no evidence. So I'm going to call him BB. Which, by the way, did you know that Netanyahu's brother was one of the guys at the raid on Entebbe back in the day?
Back in what, 1960 or
80s? I think it was like 1984. But anyway, he didn't make it. He died a hero. Absolute fucking hero.
When they went in with the Uzis and took the scrolls up the hill?
When they went in with the Uzis and they landed on the airfield, they got the hostages out, loaded them up.
Oh, you're talking about that one.
Flew them out of, I think it was Mozambique. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, his brother didn't make it. They got him out, but he was cut down. Died an absolute hero. But the problem I have with like BB making those that assertion is like, well, where's the evidence? You're going to tell me that kid in Butler, Pennsylvania was put up to that by the Iranians? I'm going to
I want to see more interviews with those parents. What is it like to have a brainwashed child who just walks around Black Rock, Donald
you know how
Trump, Black
do you know how
Rock.
they found out that their son was the shooter?
When he was murdered on live television?
No.
And who he wasn't murdered, he was neutralized. He was killed. Wrong word.
No, right. Yeah. The
But then
assassin.
when was that?
So they didn't find out. I forget the exact time frame, but his father found out from a CNN reporter because the cops came to the house and said, "Hey, we need to like search the premises or whatever." And the dad said, "Is this about my son?" And they said, "Yes. How did you know?" And he said, "Because a reporter called me."
Probably TMZ. They're always
No,
nose to the grindstone.
it turns out it was CNN. But either way,
Oh, you mean CNN? The only live broadcast they did of every broadcast of Donald Trump's campaign, they actually filmed that one in Butler live for some reason. That is
yeah,
weird. Weird
yeah.
coincidence.
Yeah.
I don't know if two guys conspired with one another to have that happen, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying that is weird.
Isn't it weird? And then they're the reporter. Their reporter is the one that tells them. But before we get too sidetracked, again, with BB, I need some proof of that. Where's your proof? You can't just say these things.
I know,
And
but
then,
he never says these things. He only says it when he's
here's the
done the
thing.
background, you know.
That came up in the Cruz Tucker interview, and Tucker brought it up to Ted Cruz asking, well, is there any credible information to back this up? And he said, Cruz's response was, oh, Netanyahu misspoke about those two, but there is a credible threat. And Tucker kept
that was
listening on
weird
it.
too.
Yeah, like, well, what is the credible threat? If you're telling me who told you there's a credible threat, and then he's like, well, John Bolton had people that rented an apartment next to him. It's like, wait, John Bolton? Who
Such a
cares
war
about
hawk.
John Bolton? Like,
He's a
literally,
war hawk.
yeah, I mean, literally, who cares about John Bolton? Like, I don't want the guy dead, but what? We were talking about Trump and an Iranian plot to assassinate him, and it's like John Bolton and Mike Pompeo, and it's like, I mean, like, that's not Trump, first of all, but second of all, answer the damn question. And then as he pressed, it was like, well, the military told me. What? That's kind of a broad answer. So I don't think there's any credibility to that whatsoever. And I find it kind of slightly insulting, like insulting to our intelligence as Americans, that Netanyahu would bring that up and say that on live television, or not, I don't know if it's live, but in an interview, that yes, the Iranian, oh, by the way, where were you, like, 6 months ago? Why weren't you saying that then? And now all of a sudden, when you're bombing Iran, you're like, oh yeah, they tried to kill your president. It's like, whoa, what? Because we heard these rumors that the Iranians were plotting to kill Trump before the election, but it was never tied to those two yahoos. And now all of a sudden,
it was tied to a Netanyahu.
Netanyahu. You're getting
a
there.
Benjamin Yehu.
They don't all land.
A Netanyahu. No, but I guess he was more manipulative on the international press than I first anticipated, because that just shows his colors. He talked to the American administration about what he knew, what intel Israel had about the two shooters. The poor ass motherfucker from Hawaii who gets to jet set around to Ukraine and to Iran and to Florida, back to Hawaii, back to Florida from Hawaii, back to Ukraine, back to Iran, with $100 into his name. That's pretty impressive.
And the world's shittiest SKS.
Oh yeah. You leave a gun for a guy to do a job, and it's Chinese made, right?
I don't remember if we ever got the specifics on it, but China made a version, and so did the Soviets. It's a design from the 1940s. Definitely the 40s, 50s. It was a short lifespan for the Soviets before it was replaced by the Kalashnikov, the AK-47. But it was put into some Monte Carlo aftermarket stock, and it was like the world's worst gun. But there's another part to that story that not a lot of people have heard for some reason, that a Secret Service person stumbled across them and fired like 5 shots from 5 feet away and missed all 5 shots.
And who was the target?
That shooter.
That little kid from Butler?
No. The one at Mar-a-Lago, the
Oh
crazy
yeah,
jet setter.
the nut job who lived in Hawaii off of nothing somehow.
Yeah, so as he's like has the barrel through the bushes, a Secret Service person stumbles across him, laid down, pulls their pistol, and fires like 5 shots at least. I think it was 5 shots at a distance of like, it's point blank distance, really, but misses. And the guy gets up and runs off.
Scrawny ass meth head, they always do.
Well, he didn't even get shot.
Scrawny. He dodged some bullets.
He had
Those
to
meth
drop.
heads.
Listen, if I'm 5 feet from you with any gun, you're getting hit. Period. And I'm not even in the Secret Service. So
Because he didn't have the Secret Service. He had all those chicks. He had the Secret Cervix.
exactly. So is that the best that Iran has? Like they hired that guy? Is that what Netanyahu's telling us? Like I don't understand this whatsoever of like, okay, again, competing narratives here. Iran funded the October 7th attack on Israel because Joe Biden gave him stacks of cash, possibly Barack Obama, but like the timing lined up with Biden what was it, unfreezing like $6 billion or something, and then
they get $80 billion a day by selling crude oil to everybody else in the country or in the region.
Sure.
So they didn't have that either. They got it now.
Well,
or until Trump got in.
They were going to sell it no matter what. But the thing is like the competing narratives are Iran funded October 7th. And they funded it because Joe Biden gave them this money and they were able to buy a whole bunch of weapons, or Hamas was, whatever. And they were able to arm Hezbollah and Hamas. And then Hamas launched this attack. And allegedly Hezbollah was supposed to also attack at the same time from the north. But for some reason they didn't, whether it was communication error or lack of nerve, whatever. So there's that narrative. Line that up with the other narrative from Netanyahu that both of these assassins were bought and paid for by Iran, who's flush with cash, but they spent it all and they couldn't afford like a good assassin. What are we talking about here? And then if you are Iran and you're going to pay for an assassin to take out, then candidate Trump, now President Trump, do they not know what the response from us is going to be? Like, that's suicide.
Maybe that's why they intentionally hired losers and then oversaw the losers. It's like the Manchurian Candidate, only they're from a trailer park, the trailer park candidate.
What do they have over there? Mud Hut candidate? But it's
no,
like
I would say mountain cave candidate.
Cave-a-date?
Yeah, cave-a-date. Comes down from the mountain. It's like this is our guy.
Like I can say that, like, yeah, the Iranians and the Ayatollahs chanted death to America, and calls us the big Satan in Israel, the little Satan. Fair enough. That's some rhetoric I don't like. But does the Iranian regime strike you as suicidal at all? Because let's say they do get a nuclear weapon, right? Let's say that everything we've heard, they're 2 weeks away. 2 weeks goes by, they have a nuclear weapon. Do you think they're suicidal enough to use that on Israel?
I guess they're that confident that they can get losers from the mountain to go do their bidding while they run off with the gold and the chicks and the money.
Well, who's gonna house those guys after they nuke Israel, and now we're gunning for them.
Yeah, they must be planning on making some sort of dirty bomb because they went to Oman. They're saying that the executives or the leaders of the Iranian administration, they ran to Oman because they got some hookups down there with the Houthis.
Okay, so that's another aspect of this whole thing. We just struck a deal with the Houthis to not attack American ships.
Maybe that's why they went to Oman instead of Yemen.
So if Iran is hell bent on destruction of the Middle East and attacking all Western countries, I'll include Israel as part of a Western country, it's west of them, and Western democracy, then why would the Houthis, who allegedly get all their stuff from Iran, why would they sign any deal with us? They had already withstood how many thousands of pounds of bombs from us here recently? Mm-hmm. And we lost 2 jets because they had credible shots at our aircraft carriers that had turned so hard I guess they flew off. Pardon the pun. Like, this shit isn't lining up.
I didn't hear about that. They fell off an aircraft carrier?
Yeah, so we lost 2 F-18s because they were like taxiing or they were moving them. They weren't strapped down. But the Houthis fired off, I think it was drones, maybe rockets that were such a threat to those ships that they had to take evasive action that was hard enough that it caused those planes to slide off into the ocean. Right. We lost 2, like, I think they both were F-18s. I know one of them was. The upgraded F-18s at somewhere in the neighborhood of like $40 million a pop. Into the drink.
Yeah, then the new ones are like $113 million a pop or something, right?
Well, there you go. So now to replace them is insane. So my point to this is like, if we can strike a deal with those guys who are allegedly are just Iranian proxies, right? They're just terrorists, right? If we can strike a deal with those guys to not attack American ships and we're good to go, then it just blowing up the narrative that, pardon the pun there, it just blows up the narrative that Iran is like hell bent on just killing everything, right?
Well, that's the thing. To answer your initial question, do you think that Khomeini is willing to do this bomb after being the pseudo leader of this nation since 1979?
Why would he give that up? Why would he commit suicide?
Because he's 87. What if he's on his deathbed? He wants to see the world burn before he goes.
Then he would invade. He would launch
Then he
everything.
Then he wouldn't
attacked. He would invade first. He was attacked. That's the thing.
Yeah, after talking a lot of shit, and there's evidence now. Well, yeah, he's constantly threatening to blow up countries, and the most recent threat this week was that he's going to give a gift to the world that they'll be talking about for centuries. I believe is the quote.
Maybe it's just Persian women. He's going to export them.
Well, and then he's going to have to get some nice Gillette blades to import and get that hair out of there.
Well, hey, it's a good few years, But none of this makes sense to me. Like, it's the same thing with like Vladimir Putin. That was another thing that Cruz. I have lost a lot of respect for Ted Cruz, a guy who I was backing in the 2016 primary against Trump. I didn't dislike Trump. I wasn't anti-Trump or never Trumper. I just thought Cruz would be a better president at the time. But that was another thing that he said was that he quoted that nonsensical talking point that Vladimir Putin wants to remake the Soviet Union or the Russian Empire.
They've been saying that since the freaking 90s.
Well, why did he wait 25 years? What was he waiting? Yeah.
You're talking about Putin?
Yes.
Well, because he plays What do they
He
always
wake
say? Oh, it's like, oh, he plays 3D chess or 4D chess, like
8D
4D.
underwater Mars style chess, Chinese chess. But it's that same. They're making this whole thing like I. It's the same shit. It's the same. That's the crazy part too. Is like this is the same rhetoric, just different enemy of the lead up to the Iraq War. You remember Yellow Cake from the Iraq War era?
Yeah, we were lied to. There are no weapons of mass destruction. And if this happens again, that's why people think it's Iraq 2.0. We're going to go in there and it'll just be cobwebs on all these machines from the 70s and 80s that they tried to put together and never figured it out because we don't let them have scientists and, they're women, they can't read. So and that's still a possibility as well. But they are pretty determined to, by they, I mean the Israelis. They're notorious for being patient, like a hunting mongoose or something, and they when they pounce, they always have all the evidence. I like
Yeah.
to think they do kill some civilians, but they try not to. It's a really sad situation. It is, but that's why his speeches have been really anger anger driven lately. Benjamin Netanyahu's he really doesn't
Let me
like to.
defend it. I've been very critical or somewhat critical of Israel. Let me defend Israel.
Yeah.
Uh, first and foremost, Netanyahu, for whatever people want to say about him, is pretty good at what he does. I've heard some long form interviews with him when he wasn't in power. He is a damn charming son of a bitch.
I call him a Jewish Churchill. I don't know if that's stuck. What are your opinions on that? Like they like him
I
during
can see
wartime.
that. Like
They'll
Churchill was a charming bastard too.
they'll,
Like,
dro- they'll drop him like a hot kebab after this war's over.
but will he come back? Well, he always comes back. But let me defend Israel here. My problem with Israel's war in Gaza is just the rhetoric, the PR campaign. And when you get off on the wrong foot with a PR campaign, it's hard to ever come back around. And what I mean by that is when you talk about how we're going to do surgical strikes, we're going to limit civilian casualties, we're going to do everything we can. That is a very admirable position. That is a very moral position. And that is something you should probably seek to do. Problem with that is it's impossible. The biggest problem with that is we're trying to put this will go back to my earlier statement about not liking these whole surgical limited war kind of thing, in that there's no morality in war. You're at war because morality has broken down. You should have expended all options, diplomacy, deals, avenues before you get to war. If you can't get there through diplomacy or deal making, or you're attacked, and you didn't know it was coming, sneak attack, like October 7th was, they come in, they come over the walls, they attack you, they slaughter your citizens, civilians, what have you. You're going to war, morality's over. Okay. If you want to conduct that war and try to limit those casualties, that's up to you. I have no problem with how we fought World War II and bombing the shit out of Dresden. I have no problem with firebombing Tokyo and burning 16 square miles down to ash and cinder.
Well,
I have no problem.
I would
Huh?
have problems with it. I'd have problems with it today. They had no laser guided
I
systems of
don't.
any kind.
I have zero problem with it because you're going to war. The objective is win. Not the objective is not we're going to go in and we're going to get them to sign a peace treaty. This
Well,
also follows with the line of thinking of war being your last resort and it being justified in why you're going to war and being obvious as to why you're going to war. So we get attacked on September the 11th. Everybody knows we're going to war. We're not sure with who. Just point us in the right direction, right? Same thing here. If you're going to go in and you say you've got to take out Hamas, and Hamas is in every aspect of the Gaza Strip, fair enough. Don't apologize for what the war you wage because there's no morality left. It's over. The morality has broken down. We are now going to kill each other over this thing. You know, we talked about some of the Delta guys and we were talking about Black Hawk Down, and I mentioned the guy Tom Satterley. The reason that I brought him up was in that documentary. How accurate it is, we don't know, but on Netflix about Black Hawk Down, 20 years later, 30 years later, whatever it is, there's a clip in there where Satterley's talking, and they're pinned down for the night in a house with a family, wife, husband, 3 kids, I think. I don't remember exactly. But at some point in the night, when they can't get out and they're waiting to get rescued, basically, I forget what happens. He explains it. And something happens, and his reaction, what he says in the interview is, he goes, I hated that because that brought some like morality into the situation and some like human emotion into that shitty situation, something to that effect. And he's right. Morality's broken down. You're shooting each other at this point. You're at war. You have a rifle, a pistol, grenades. They have the same thing. So this whole thing of like, we're going to fight this moral and just war. No, you're not. Stop saying that. The whole goal is to kill people. That's the goal. It's war. I have, again, I still think we owe Japan a couple of cruise missiles, if I'm being honest. Like, for the shit that they did in World War II and Unit 731, the Chinese still hate their guts. The Koreans still hate the Japanese. To this day, they cannot get along. They
don't forget
hate
about the
them.
Filipino.
Filipinos hate a lot of people, but you're right.
They really hate the Japanese. They were a
Yes.
third of their people were killed by the Japanese.
Yes. China, same. Korea, same. They absolutely despise the Japanese to this day for the things that they did to them in World War II. It's been 80 years. They're not letting it go. They're passing it down. They do not like those guys whatsoever. So my point is, I have no problem with the Tokyo firebombing. I have no problem with dropping 2 atomic bombs. Zero problem with it. I don't like that it had to happen, but it had to happen. We had to have an unconditional surrender. Everybody can sit there and talk about, well, they were going to surrender anyway. I don't know.
But they're also the most suicidal people in the whole planet. We were not aware of that when we went into World War II.
Look, shouldn't have fucked with the boats. Okay. I'm sorry we had to show you the sun twice, but you blew up the boats, dude. We didn't do that. That wasn't a false flag. We didn't just pin something on you. You blew up the boats. It's like picking a fight in a bar. If the guy fucking kills you, well, I don't know what to tell you. You shouldn't have picked the fight in the bar. You extrapolate that out. It's just how it works. So that's the problem I have with how Israel decided to conduct their war in Gaza. You're attacked. Stop making excuses that we're going to be nice. You're not being nice. Be the lion that you say you guys are. I don't know if you've seen any sort of social media posts. and I think Netanyahu says it quite a bit that, you know, we are the lions in the jungle or whatever, you know, we are the big, powerful lion. Well, lion kills everything it gets its hands on and then eats it, you know?
Yeah, they were saying that it's related to related to something in their holy book. But yeah, they said in
Right.
1948, never again. So, but that doesn't mean they want to intentionally kill civilians. If they can avoid civilians and children and stuff, they will.
Well, isn't that just the next generation of fighters?
Probably, but see, then that means you believe in their holy war, or that at least that you believe that they believe in a holy war, which takes me back to what are we going to do about the Ayatollah? Why now? But maybe it's because he wants to see out his evil plot. It's taken this long to do it, I guess.
Well, this is like the second or third Ayatollah. Khomeini's
But
dead.
they've had Khomeini for like over 30 years. He's the longest running Ayatollah.
Or the first one's dead. Well, I don't know. Do old people get suicidal? I've never encountered that.
No, but they get fucking angry at their enemies because Donald Trump had to stop a war between Pakistan and India, and he wasn't even in office yet. It's like the second time he's overseen that. When he was in office the first time around, his first administration talked India, the leader of India and the leader of Pakistan, out of blowing each other up with mushroom clouds.
Yeah, that was a pretty good job.
And
We
then
would
he
have
did it
never got
again.
that curry smell out of the hills of Oklahoma.
Oh,
Yeah. Nuclearized curry.
oh, that's that green stuff, right? The hot green stuff. Ooh.
No. That's wasabi. Curry is the like orange spice.
Oh, hey, not all curries have to be spicy.
Right. It's a spice. It's not spicy. It's just like, you know, salt. It's a spice.
But and then bringing up Khomeini, it comes back to the question you asked of me, and we have no answer. Will we declare war on Iran? And they're clearly not trying to, because Donald Trump ran on the case that he would start foreign wars, and that'd be exactly what he's doing. Yes, he doesn't have another opportunity to run for office, but he's still a man of his word. He's like, God damn it. So that's why he gave them 2 more weeks in that particular way that he works, where it's like a semi bluff, but him being the wild card. He's like, I'm only giving you 2 weeks because you can't predict what I'm going to do. But as of now, even if he drops a bomb, technically, maybe he'll be the first person. This isn't our first war that we just rained fire from the sky and never declared war through the actual Congress. We're real good at that. We can still get away with killing thousands of people from the sky and not actually declare war, as our United States government is believed to have. Like, and they only have done it like a handful of times.
Yeah, we haven't declared war since like
41.
Yeah.
Yeah. Since fucking December 7th of 41.
Yeah. Exactly. But we've blown up a lot of people since then.
Mm-hmm. So that's why I'm saying I think he's gonna, because of the way Trump hangs his hammer. He's gonna get away with bombing that mountain, allowing the Israelis to clean up the mess, and then the world will be a better place.
Will it though? See, that's
Ask
the
all those.
question I have. I mean, you know, the other thing I see too is people romanticizing before the revolution in Iran. You know, where they show pictures of like women at the beach in bikinis and what have you, and it's like, I don't know that the Shah was a nice guy. I've heard some stories. And then they dusted off that old bastard too, or at least his family, and now they're talking, saying my countrymen need to stand up. And it's like, I don't think they really liked you too much. They don't like these guys like more, but they weren't willing to fight and die for you there, pal chief. So I don't know. I don't know. The Iran thing just it's not sitting right. I'm being lied to, and I don't like it. And I don't want Trump. It's a whole one of the main reasons I like Trump is we're not starting wars with people. Don't do that. I mean, we're gonna go like you mentioned Pakistan. Well, you mentioned India and Pakistan, but that's the other thing that really has been bothering me about this whole Iran has nuclear weapons. Well, Pakistan has nuclear weapons, has since 1998, at least officially. They're run by or governed by a Shia Muslim right now, and the Ayatollah is Shia. You're telling me that he couldn't buy or import one from Pakistan, or at least get technical knowledge on it? Like, is that a thing? Did you drop off? All right, so I think I'm myself here. Are you there?
Yeah, I saw a couple of bag ladies over here under the bridge. I thought maybe if they were having a party. I love being the third wheel.
Well, did you hear my rant about Pakistan and Iran?
No, I didn't.
Well,
They were really having a party. They were having a good time. I wanted a piece of that glass, but that's another story.
But Pakistan's their president is a Shia Muslim, and the Iranians are Shia as well, or at least the Ayatollah is. The ruling government is. So you're telling me that since Pakistan's had a nuclear weapon since 1998. You're telling me that they couldn't get like the technical data to make a weapon from Pakistan or an actual nuclear weapon from Pakistan if they're hell bent on destroying Israel or hell bent on getting a nuclear weapon? These things
So
are not adding up.
they're both Shia, but I guess it's not hard to get a scientist into Iran. There are a lot of eyes on them all the time.
Dude, they're selling oil on the black market, and you're telling me you can't smuggle like 5 dudes?
Have you ever seen Dark Knight Rises? It's very involved.
You just get a cord in a plane, and you just snatch him out a window. I saw one of those movies. Is that Dark Knight Rises?
Yeah. Get a Latvian. Yeah, he's a scientist. That's what scientists sound like.
They scream a lot. But
you scream, they scream.
We all scream.
They all scream for Scientology.
So is there anything left to cover on Iran? Israel?
I don't think so. It's a waiting game. I was afraid of that as soon as I saw we were making plans for Friday, and then I saw that what is this, day 7 or day 8?
Something like that. Yeah. I don't know. There's a time difference.
Yeah, if they say 7, it's probably 8. Yeah, you're right. It might even be 9 right now. That's true.
They're probably.
Let me look at my globe. Right, I carry this globe everywhere I go. They say it's on my phone, but I was like, the Earth is flat. How could I look at the phone and the globe at the same time? I got my flat Earth on my phone, and I got my round Earth on my globe. No, we have to wait till somebody pulls the trigger. Another bad pun.
Cool. How long can Iran hold out?
Well, they have no control over their air, over their skies, because they have no surface-to-air missiles anymore. They have no air force anymore, so now they're just being completely controlled. And then the free people of Iran who are trying to escape the tyranny of the theocracy, Elon Musk is hooking up their Starlinks so they can have internet, but not the leaders in Tehran.
Did you see the operation that that Israel pulled off though, with like drone attacks.
Yes, they stuck
That
like
was wild.
234 drones into Iran piece by piece, painstakingly, and then
Okay,
secretly put them together.
so Israel did that, and then 2 weeks ago, Ukraine did basically the same thing inside Russia, right?
Yes. Well, Ukraine
And
was like 2 days prior, I believe. They did it first. It was like the same week. They did it first in
it
Ukraine.
was really really close in timing, right? And
Yeah.
then everyone claims from Ukraine to the United States that we had no knowledge whatsoever. We didn't help Ukraine do this. It was wholly them. They did it by themselves, right?
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Much. Well, and then that's what's funny. Their government, the Israeli government, has the gall to, well, the cojones. I'm going to go to cojones because I'm more familiar with
The
cojones.
chutzpah.
I know. I guess they could say chutzpah, but I felt good with cojones. They claim that it'll
South
make
Texas.
the beeper job they did look like child's play.
That beeper job was pretty legit. I mean,
Yeah, they said
that
that's
was
child's play
badass.
compared to Ukraine.
That
And
was
then what
badass.
they did in Iran was pretty insane too. They flew down chimneys, like 200. They made a drone for every single air release chimneys, if you will. That's the word BB used. And all 234 were compromised by an individual drone and went down in there and blew up and took camera shots. Like they would take camera shots, then blow up, fly around, blow up,
It
gather
was pretty
data.
crazy too, because
Right.
they got guys behind enemy lines too who had been working on this, who then like geared up and started firing rockets, like shoulder propelled, munitions at targets too. Like these dudes
Yeah.
have been working on this for a minute. So that also is like, well, were they 2 weeks away from a bomb, or did you just need a regime change? You notice that's the other thing that changed too, from we have to do this because they're 2 weeks away from a bomb to, yeah, regime change. And it's like, whoa, wait. The rhetoric's changing already? We're 2 days into this. What are we talking about here? Like, again, just be upfront. Like, this dude's got to go. We're going to take him out. He's trying to get nuclear weapons. So here we go. We're going to decapitate the snake, or whatever, euphemism you want to use. So just quit lying about it, man. That's the thing. Like, and by the way, you got Syria in the middle being run by an ex Al Qaeda guy.
Who, the optometrist?
No, he's in Moscow.
Oh, the optometrist ran to Moscow.
Yeah, and now they got Jelani, who's now, I guess, going by his original name, which I can't remember, who fought against our soldiers in Iraq and Ramadi and Fallujah and bragged about killing American Marines, is now the leader and president of Syria, the Free State of Syria, whatever that means, which we've recognized apparently, and Trump has praised the man. So they're in the middle of it, like literally, they're in between this. So that's weird. If you're Syria, you're just sitting outside watching missiles fly over, right? Like, do they get a say so in this? Jets just screaming over top. And by the way, like we mentioned the air thing, there was so much made online about Trump said we have air superiority. And people are like, well, I guess that means America's at war. What does that mean? Blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, you fly like a fake goose over and have air superiority over Iran. Like, air superiority just means like getting a jet up, doesn't it?
That's funny you say that. They have really good duck hunting over there, I was told.
I heard that too.
I know somebody went over there, and I was like, "What was it like in the green zone?" Lots of duck hunting. Wow, that's fun.
We all assume it looks like Iraq or like Syria, and it's just fucking the deserts of Nevada. It's actually really nice parts of it.
Yeah, Trump showed that. The news had to cover that. They had no choice. Hair dancers from Abu Dhabi, big 20, 30-pound gold chain, like a big pimp from Qatar. Middle East loves them.
I kind of want to go to Abu Dhabi, like travel.
No, you are, but don't. Yabba dabba doo. I hear it's hard to get over there, but
It's kind of far.
high security. Egypt's a
Cool.
nightmare. They're like, oh, I'm going to go see the pyramids. You can't even, don't even bring your own phone. They'll confiscate them.
What? So we're invading Egypt. No.
Yeah, when they say that the hotel security is more involved than any airport security you've ever seen, including in Egypt, that's kind of
Yep.
scary.
Yeesh.
But they want to protect their Westerners, but there are a lot of people who do not.
Gotcha. Well, fuck that.
And
I
those
still want to go
those
to
people,
Abu Dhabi though. Like, I got to find out if you can have a drink or not. Like,
yeah, it depends. I heard a guy went to prison for like 4 years. He was having a drink, but he spilled it on a Muslim dude at one of these hoity-toity parties, and that was that.
well, I don't even need to go to a party. Like, I just need to be in a hotel room. Like, old dad's got to wind down. I don't need to be going to prison over a whiskey. Like, does Muhammad have a blind spot for like room 34 or whatever? Like, that's all I need to know. I'll take a look at your wares, but at the end of the night, we need to toast her off good.
I heard a good rumor. I heard a good rumor that well, this isn't a rumor. This is a fact that America makes the most pornography in the world. We were the hugest expediters of porno. And who is the biggest number one customer? Do you know what country consumes the most pornography?
Ooh, Saudi Arabia?
Close. I'll give you one more guess. Regionally wise, you're close.
Qatar?
It's Pakistan.
What?
Yeah, and then the way I'm all excited, yay! And like the thing about them is they have to relieve themselves into a mirror. So
Oh,
every single little smut house that plays videos has a mirror on the wall and the TV on the other wall, and you can't look at the TV. That is not the way Muhammad wanted you to enjoy it. But if you uh, what's the opposite of Superman? Bizarro. If you Bizarro world it, you could jerk off into a mirror and watch the porno that way. That's okay. You just have to watch it through Bizarro world.
well, in Pakistan's defense, there's a lot of non-Arabs there. Or non-Muslims, I should say.
Oh
Like,
no!
their government that is Shia is a minority government. So a lot of Hindus, a lot of Hindon'ts. That's a horrible joke. Sorry. And yeah, what's the fat one? Buddhists, maybe. I don't know. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna act like I know what the hell Pakistan's doing or not doing. But yeah,
Well, they were pretty damn progressive. You know, they were doing the Western world thing in the '60s and into the '70s before it started. These countries started folding like cards. You know, House of Cards with to theocracies. They were appealing to the average guy in the street. But
isn't it
how do
funny?
I improvise my explosive device? How do I improvise? I want to express me.
The whole
Me. I
time we're
want to
fighting
improvise.
communism, we should have been fighting radical Muslims or something.
No, we utilize radical Muslims because they're so easily radicalized. We paid and trained them to radically kill commies, and they did. And then they took their knowledge and used it against us.
And we fell for it.
Yeah, we did. We fell hard
Perfect.
for that shit.
Perfect. All right,
We
man. We did like an hour and a half of this. How'd that feel?
felt great.
Got anything you want to say before we get out of here? Before we land this old plane?
I just hope the love of my life, sea whale, I call her, SW. She's at the Peppermint Hippo. She casts a mighty shadow. But as the sun goes down, so does hers. And I'll be going down on her. Good night.
All right, man. It was fun. See you next time. All right. So that was fun. Hopefully the audio was better, guys. I'm going to go ahead and stop for the night. Hopefully everybody enjoyed it. Again, list of topics. If you want to hit me up at X. That's my handle on there. Twitter, X, whatever we're calling it. Snoopy for you. Thanks for the comments. Even though some of them were kind of out there. Still much appreciated. Steak, thanks for joining as well. I know Mark's out there somewhere. And to anyone else that I didn't mention, I'm sorry. But thanks for joining. Everybody have a good Friday night and a better weekend. And I don't know. I got to figure out something to say at the end of this. But have a good night, guys. Peace.